If you have a sluggish car, they say clean the EGR. Here's one from a Ford. This one's Toyota, Hyundai, Chevy, Honda, Mercedes. Pert near every car has an EGR, and I'm going to show you how I cleaned my cooler and valve real good. DeMille's behind the camera. Let's get started. Now you gotta admit, part of the reason why we're driven to do this, to take parts out of a car, is because they look so cool, like something out of an alien spaceship. Nearly every car has an EGR system, and this one's from Toyota. It consists of a metal cooler that exhaust gases flow through on their way back to the engine, and a valve here at the front to regulate the flow of those gases. Now, the cooler ain't easy to remove, which is why a lot of mechanics just blow them out with air. The valve is easy to get out, and if a feller can clean it instead of replacing it, that saves anywhere from $300 to $1,000, depending on the car, and that's why I cleaned mine. And up in the corner, here's a video where I removed both of these from a Toyota Prius. Now, my cleaning process starts with the usual choices, and if I need serious grease removal, I use parts cleaner / brake cleaner. I know a couple guys refuse to admit those are the same thing, but I proved it in that video I just pointed you to. So watch that for the experiment I did. Then you got your carb cleaner, and of course sometimes I use purple power to soak things in. But for this Prius EGR cooler, I used something extra special, and I did it in a clever way, which you'll see later. And finally, for the cooler, the icing on the cake is this 0-degree attachment on my pressure washer. Makes her sparkle like the inside of Granny's toaster oven. Now, to illustrate concepts that apply to nearly every car, let's discuss the EGR valve first. I'm going to take this one apart. It's the Toyota version, because wouldn't it be fun to know what happens inside of here? And note to the Prius owners out there, if these screws ever get stripped like mine did, the replacement I used is M5.8 pitch. And about 20 millimeters long is what I used, but shorter length is probably good if a feller can find them. So you see these contacts here, right? So you know electricity plays a part, and it talks to your car's computer, which sometimes ends in an argument that gives you a P0400 error code. And everybody thinks it's so taboo to open this up, but I'm just itching to see what's inside, aren't you? So we're just going to take this off of here and help me remember the way she went, would you? And inside there you got a magnet. Let's monkey with it a little. Something's holding her. Yeah, ain't that curious. Under there you got a spring, greased up real good for a real good reason, no doubt. And you got a threaded stud for your magnet to go on, and there's another spring, because when you push this, it makes the plunger valve open. Can you imagine how that valve might get stuck if it gets real dirty? Now, what causes that valve to open, do you suppose? What do you reckon? What's your hypothesis? Yeah, let me screw this magnet back in here the right way, and I'm going to show you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking inside of here you got coils or something that creates an electromagnetic field, you see. Now, I ain't no genius, folks. I'm just blessed with the common sense the good Lord gave me. And when I see an electrical field and a magnet, I think those two things are designed to work together. So I think when the computer says so, that electric field repels the magnet and forces that to open. Leave me your comments. Let me know what you think. In the meantime, we're going to clean this up real good. Yeah, I got some handy-dandy brushes from Harbor Freight. You can probably also get them on Amazon. And they come with nice handles, you see, but you can also detach them, see, and you put them on a drill, which I do here in a minute. There's links to all this stuff that I use in the description beneath the video. I use metal brushes where I can afford to be tough, and Plastic brushes where I want to be gentle. Yeah, I use carb cleaner and even this old toothbrush I found on Helen's bedside table. I'll put it back later. And over here, I put my brass brush on a drill and go to town, but not too deep, because you see inside there's the shaft that goes to the plunger. You see, you don't want to damage that. Eventually, everything looks pretty good. And you Prius guys will want to make sure you stick around till the end of the video, where I give you my take on the orientation of the 4 gaskets that need to be put back in place the right way. Gross. It's like emptying out Helen's spittoon. And the secret to this gunk removal is not spray-on oven cleaner, but a liquid version of the oven cleaner that I use in a special way. You see, the right-sized rubber corks like these give me the tight seal I need. And if a feller wants to plug the large hole, you need a 1-inch cork that flares out to 1 1/4 inches wide. The slightly smaller cork for the other hole would be 11/16, flaring out to 15/16. And you can get a variety of these things at Home Depot or Amazon, of course, and we got the links. So I cork it up good, and I fill it with that Easy Off oven cleaner in the pump spray bottle, but I yank off the pump so I can pour the liquid. And I let the thing soak for like a day, and then I repeat the process over and over and over until the discharge gets clear. I'm willing to take days to do this because I'm retired. This ain't my daily driver, you know. Then I shoot straight down this hole with that zero-angle pressure washer attachment and make sure she's good and clean and let her dry. And pay attention now, because it's important for you to know that what you're looking at is not a honeycomb per se. These are long rectangular tubes. They run like a channel straight through the EGR cooler. And you can drive yourself crazy trying to illuminate the whole thing, because the angle of construction makes it impossible to shine a flashlight uniformly, from one side to the other, you see? And if you think that's interesting, wait till I tell you about the 4 horsemen on this EGR adventure, the orientation of the 4 metal gaskets. I'm going to work from back to front showing you this. So in the rear, near the exhaust connection, you got what I'm going to call gasket number 1. Now, let's be honest, most of us drop this one, so very few human beings have seen it in the correct position. Plus, the shape of the gasket on both sides seem identical. However, when I took mine off, I did notice this one notch that goes all the way through the gasket, you see, was lined up with the top right notch of the exhaust manifold pipe. So that's exactly how I reinstalled it, like this. Gasket number 2 is where the cooler pairs up with the valve assembly. Now look at it. This is what I call a geotized gasket. The shape and the holes are arranged in such a geographic fashion that it hypnotizes you just thinking about it. Seriously, it's designed to make you put it on so the correct surface is always pointing in the correct direction. If you flipped it over, you'd know it ain't right. Careful, because it can also make you quack like a duck. Gasket number 3 is where the EGR valve meets the elbow pipe. At first glance, I thought it didn't matter, but then, you see here? I noticed how it seems to flare out different on one side, and that flare was facing toward the pipe when I took her off, flaring out in the direction of airflow. Just like gasket number 4, the clip-on one, is located where the EGR elbow meets the bent pipe from the intake manifold. It's obvious the prongs need to hug the EGR elbow. And look, when they do, once again, that flare you see is pointing in the direction of the airflow. Some engineer probably got a bonus for scratching out that idea on a chalkboard. So I hope you know a little bit more about EGR systems and that you'll smear this information all over your social. Margie wrote smear. Share. No, go ahead, fellas. Smear this information all over your social media accounts. And be sure to click on these other videos related to this very same topic.